Start our unit on our lesson on the square and cube numbers. So let's start with the square numbers. So let's just remember that we call square numbers because they come out of the concept of area, okay? So for example, if I have something like 2 square, that doesn't mean that it's 2 times 2. This means that it's 2 that I'm timesing twice 2. Or if I have 3 square, that means that I'm twicing twice 3, which means that it's 3 times 3. As we know, if I have a square and I want to find the area of this square, and let's say that the side of this square is going to be 3, that means that I have to do 3 times 3, which is what we have here, and that's why we call it 3 square. They are square numbers because they form the area of a square, okay? Wonderful. So with this concept in mind, we are going to write the square numbers of the counting numbers started at 1. So if we do that, give me 1 second, I'm just going to delete this. So if we do that, I'm going to do it in order. So let's start here. 1 squared is going to be 1 times 1, which is equal to 2. Then 2 squared is going to be equal to 2 times 2, which is 4. Then 3 squared is going to be 3 times 3, which is 9. Then 4 squared is going to be 4 times 4, which is 16. If we bring our multiplication grid, then you will remember that we mentioned in class that this diagonal is giving me all of these square numbers. 2 times 2, 4, 3 times 3, 9, 4 times 4, 16, 5 times 5, 25, 6 times 6, 36, and so on, up to number 12. Now, I want to highlight something here. If I have 10 square, we know that 10 times 10 is going to be 100. Agree? We know that. Now, if I put another number, let's say I want to find 100 square. So what is going to be 100 square? We know that 100 square is going to be 100 times 100. Let me just move this to the side. Ah, beautiful that happened. I hate when this happens. I'll write it down here then. So if I do 100 square, it's going to be 100 times 100. Agree? Now, what is 100 times 100? So hopefully you will be able to see that what we're doing here is that I have 10,000. Why? Because I have 2 zeros here and 2 zeros here. So in total, I'm going to have 4 zeros. So that's going to be 10,000. It's 100, okay? So for the powers of 10, as you can see here, I have 10. And how many zeros do I have? Then I have 2. Then if I have 100 and I have 2 zeros here, how many times? 2 times. So 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. If I do something like, let's say, 1,000 square, then what is it going to be? So it's going to be 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because it's going to be 3 zeros twice, and that's going to be equal to 1 million. Okay, I just want to notice this because that's going to be helpful later on when we're doing some of our exercises. Good. Now, in the same way that we have a square number, we also have cube numbers. And also the name comes out now, you guess it, of a cube. Why? Because the volume of a prism like this one, where this area is a square, that is going to be one, like this length times width times depth. Agree? So if we do that, then we can find our cube numbers here. 1 cube is going to be 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. Then 2 cube is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Then 3 cube is going to be 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Then 4 cube is going to be 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64, and then 5 cubed is going to be equal to 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. And we can keep on going forever. I recommend that you write these cube numbers underneath your multiplication grid, because it's going to make your life easier for some of the exercises. Now, I want to do the same logic that we had here. If I'm going to do 10 cube, what is going to be the answer to 10 cube? So it's going to be 10 times 10 times 10, which we know that is going to be 1,000. So again, I have 1 0 here, and then I have it to the cube to the power of 3. That means that I have 3 zeros. If I do 100 cube, what is it going to be? So I put my 0. Then how many times am I going to have to write 2 zeros? 3 times. So I write 2 zeros once, 2 zeros twice, 2 zeros 3 times. And there you go. Then I have that this one is going to be equal to 1,000,000. Now if I go, okay, what is 1,000 cube? So how many times do I have to write 3 zeros? 3 times. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 once, 1, 2, 3 twice, 1, 2, 3, 3 times. So now I have 3 and 3 and 3. And that's going to be my answer. Okay, wonderful. So with this in mind, now let's do another question here. So the questions that they're going to be asked are these type of questions. I'm just going to take it from your booklet. Good. So you have this one, evaluate the following, and you can do these ones with the information that I gave you before. So this one, the square numbers between 50 and 100. So I'm going to change the numbers to do this one, because you can do this one for homework as practice, but let's do another one similar to this one. So for example, the square numbers between, let's say between 40 and 110, let's say. So which are the square numbers between a 40 and 110? So I have to go here and I say, okay, what are the square numbers? The square numbers are 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, okay? I'm looking for the square numbers after 40. So it's not going to be 36, but it's going to include 49. So it's going to be 49, 64, 81, 100. And I'm not going to include 121 because it's until 110. So my square numbers are going to be here. The answer for this one is going to be 49, 64, 81, and 100. Why? Because the one that comes before this square number is going to be 36, which we know that is 6 square. And the number that is going to come after 100 is going to be 121, which is 11 square. But 40 is after 36, so I don't include this one, and 110 is before 121, so I don't include this one. So my answer is only these 4 numbers here. Wonderful. Now, the other type of questions that you're going to have is something like this. That says, find the 2 whole numbers between which the following values lie. So let's do this type of questions here. So let's say if I'm asking you 3.8, let's do 5.8 square. 5.8 square is going to lie between which square numbers? So again, we have to think about this grid that I have here. I'm going to take a photo of this one and bring it down so we can work it out here. Good. Fantastic. So I know that 5 is between which numbers? So I know that 5 is between 5 and 6. Do you agree? We know that. So what I'm going to look, these numbers they are between 5 square and 6 square. What is 5 square? So 5 square is 25. And 6 square is 36. Because I know that 5.8 is between 5 and 6. So 5.8 square is going to be between 25 and 36. And if you do it in your calculator, I'm going to bring out my calculator. I think I have it here. It's going to take a while to open up. In the meantime, while it opens up, let's do another example while it opens up. So now let's do this one, 3.8, the one that I was going to do before. 3.8 square lies between which square numbers? So we're going to use the same logic. So 3.8, I know that is between 3 and 4. What is 3 square and what is 4 square? 3 square is 9 and 4 square is 16. Therefore, 3.8 square has to be between 9 and 16. Let's see if our calculator is working now. Yes. So, give it 1 sec. Wonderful. So, if I check 5.8 square, let's do it in our calculator. 5.8 square, enter, 33 and 64 hundredths, which is between, you see, what we got was 33 and 64 hundredths, which is between 25 and 36. Beautiful. And now if I do 3.8 square, I know that it's going to be between 9 and 16. Let's check. 3.8 square, 14 and 44 hundredths. So 14 and 44 hundredths, which is between 9 and 16. Does that make sense? So this is looking at about this, the base of this index. The base is this number here down. This is the index. So the base is between which whole numbers, and then squaring those, that is going to give me an estimation of knowing that square number, where is it going to lie. If you have questions about this, please let me know in class.